It's kind of interesting that James Bradberry, Kevin Byard, and even Nick Sirianni all hinted that Sean Desai's game plan and preparation heading into Sunday was subpar and didn't give them the best chance to win. Although with the addition of Shaq Leonard officially in the building today helped fix some of the big holes on defense, Zach Ertz dropped another hint about his next potential team, although Dallas Goedert doesn't seem too thrilled about the possible addition. And Darius had a resilient defense of James Bradberry and the Eagles secondary on Twitter. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Now, of course, by now, you've probably seen that the Eagles did sign linebacker Shaq Leonard yesterday to a one-year deal, but more details have emerged this morning, with Jimmy Kempski confirming, one, that Leonard was signed to the Eagles' active 53-man roster, not the practice squad, and two, he did arrive in Philadelphia this morning, pictures are up there on your screen, and will begin working out with the team and getting prepared as quickly as possible for Sunday night's matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. And just really quickly, for those wondering how big of an impact Leonard could technically make this quickly on a Sunday night, his passer rating when targeted this season is 79.2. Compare that to Zach Cunningham's 88.2, Nicholas Morrow's 117.8, and Christian Ellis's 101.5. You can probably see why the Birds wanted to bring in Leonard, just because it can't be the worst idea, right? And it worked out that the news dropped yesterday, right as Nick Sirianni was preparing for his Monday press conference, and he spoke about the newest addition to the Eagles linebacker room.
We're obviously really excited about that, and we just feel like he adds that depth to our team that, with some of the injuries that we've had there, and he had some depth to that team. With that being said, I did think Christian Ellis played a good game yesterday, but he just gives us some more depth there through a place where we've had some injuries, unfortunate injuries.
Now, I'm curious, would you start Shaq Leonard over Christian Ellis on Sunday night if Zach Cunningham was unable to go? I'm sure we'll get more details on Cunningham's injury later on this week, but as of right now, it would be Morrow and Christian Ellis. I would honestly slide Leonard in there regardless of how quickly he can get up to speed. Now, speaking of pass coverage grades, the Eagles secondary is getting a ton of criticism today following their dismal performance against the 49ers, and rightfully so. Although what's interesting, though, is statistically, James Bradberry and Darius played really well on Sunday. I mean, look at Bradberry. First off, the 49ers clearly came after him in pregame, but then during the actual game, Bradberry was thrown at exactly 0 times. And likewise, he was only thrown at 3 times and allowed just 32 yards. Yet, I kind of agree with Seth Joyner, who kind of ripped into the Eagles secondary during the Jacob Media postgame show on Sunday night.
Our corners are as disinterested at tackling someone, as a young kid coming out to play football for the first time. They want no parts whatsoever. They want to push a guy out of bounds, or they want to try to trip him up, but they will not come up and put their body on somebody and tackle him.
Now, Slay would push back on Twitter, saying, first of all, it's Slay, and my problem with Buddy is that he said we were scared to tackle. Now, I do agree that we ain't tackle well at all as a team, but that scared blank out the door. It's interesting, okay, I agree, sure, tackling was a huge issue. The 49ers did have a ton of yards after a catch. Maybe this whole idea that the secondary was terrible is kind of like a half-truth. Sure, they aren't creating turnovers, they're not tackling well, but I guess coverage-wise, you do have to back up Slay and Bradberry a little bit and say that they were doing just fine. I mean, if you want to talk about bad coverage stats, you look no further than Nicholas Morrow on Sunday, who was targeted 8 times, gave up 6 catches, had a $175 receiving yards caught on him, 2 touchdowns, and a 30.7 game grade. Or Eli Ricks, who played just 5 snaps, but gave up 3 catches, 1 touchdown, and 2 first downs. Both of those players might be a little more of a problem than the aging Darius Slay and James Bradberry. What worries me a lot more is seemingly the lack of preparation from Sean Desai heading into a really tough matchup against Kyle Shanahan. And while players and coaches won't ever call out Desai just straight up to the media and say, oh, he's terrible, they gave some pretty clear hints following the game. I mean, listen to Nick Sirianni just yesterday.
I think it's just major thing is just making sure that our detail is on, and hey, here's the job requirement for this if this look happens, and that if that look happens. It not necessarily is the answer to say do more, right? Just to make sure everybody's on the same page, and I think that's where we just didn't do a good enough job of just making sure everyone was on the same page as far as, hey, all the little different things to the different motions that they could do. And so we just have to put the players in better positions to succeed. That's not by any means anything at Sean, right? That's me. I'm looking at myself in the mirror saying, hey, well, maybe this was too much here in this one. We got to describe this out a little bit more here. And so I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that when there's a mistake like that, that falls on the head coach.
I know what you're saying, Thomas. He did say he's not trying to call out Sean Desai, but that's what a good head coach would do. Take all of the blame, deflect from Desai, but is he not mentioning that the game plan and coaching from the defense wasn't up to standard? And whose job really is it to coach the defense and get them prepped? It's not really Sirianni. He's an offensive-minded head coach, not a defensive-minded head coach. And to back it up, it wasn't just Sirianni. We played you the clip yesterday of what James Bradberry had to say post-game about the Eagles' preparedness for the Niner motion.
I think they did a good job of, using motion to their advantage. Of course, as teams motion back and forth, they do jets and whatnot, especially pre and post snap. That kind of plays with the communication. And we just got to see everything the same way on the back end. There's a lot of things happening, and we didn't see things the same on the back end. I feel like that's what led to some of those busts.
And then not to be outdone, safety Kevin Byard, he spoke to John Clark in the postgame show as well, saying, quote, "A lot of motion, I think, got us out of position. We got outplayed and outcoached today. But I don't think we were clean enough on the details of the coverages and the things we were doing today. It wasn't a whole lot of air yards. It was a lot of catch and runs to turn into big plays. When you're leaving guys wide open, it's not going to end well for the defense." I mean, come on. We're piling up names here of players mentioning defensive preparedness from a coaching perspective. Even Brandon Graham told 94.1 WIP this morning that we've been getting away with stuff. We've been talking about it, and we're always address those things. But it's caught up to us this week. Now, I'm not going to pretend like Sean Desai hasn't had some really good coaching moments this year, including Miami's pre-snap motion and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid coming off of a bye. But the NFL is clearly a week-to-week league, and Desai's game plan, whatever it really was, going into the Niner game, wasn't up to par, didn't work out, and cost Philadelphia a ton of points in possibly that game. The good news is, though, Desai's going to have another chance, not only against the Dallas Cowboys' offense coming up on Sunday night, but most likely the 49ers some point later on down the line in January. Desai did speak to the media earlier this morning and talked about the whole idea of Philadelphia's defense struggling, especially against the 49ers.
No, I think, like you said, I think they give credit to them. They did a good job of scheming up some space plays, and, I got to do a better job of putting our guys in position to be able to get tighter and corral in those areas, and so it starts with me. I got to do a better job of getting those guys in that position to get them tighter when they're trying to make it that space game on different levels.
So you like the effort?
I think the effort, I think at all levels, I got to improve. I think every player knows that we all got to improve from an execution standpoint and everything too, but I got to be able to help them also. They hit us on some calls that, I gotta reflect on and put our guys in better positions on.
Now, speaking of taking shots, it does seem like the Eagles still have the best shot at tight end Zach Ertz, even after signing Shaq Leonard. As ESPN's Jeremy Fowler confirmed yesterday, the Eagles have inquired about number 86. What's even more promising, though, is the fact that John Harbaugh said the Ravens, quote, "like our tight ends. I think we're going to roll with these guys yesterday," which seemingly put the Ravens out of the Ertz sweepstakes. It kind of feels like Philadelphia and Kansas City are the two most likely options now for number 86. Although Ertz did drop a like yesterday on Adam Schefter's tweet confirming Shaq Leonard to the Eagles, so do with that as you will. Although, is it just me, or does Dallas Goedert not sound too excited about the prospect of sharing targets with Ertz again?
Obviously, you just don't see that very often, but, spent a lot of time with him, and, it's interesting. We'll see what happens with him, but, hope the best for him.
Now, surely Goddard understands that he's not going to give up his targets to Zach Ertz. Ertz would come in as a backup and take away targets from Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra, which probably is not a bad thing. But it is interesting that Goddard wasn't straight up like, "Oh, yeah, I missed Zach Ertz. He's a really great player. I can't wait till he comes in." It was more like, "Yeah, that doesn't happen very often. It's interesting. Very curious to see what would happen if they bring in Ertz and how it works with Dallas Goedert." Now, the good news is that Goedert will likely play this weekend, as he told 94.1 WIP this morning, quote, "He probably feels like he's 85 to 90% back to normal. I'm able to do everything I need to do in my position group, so I'm planning on going down to Dallas and playing every snap they allow me to." Thumbs up for Goedert being back. That alone should help out the Eagles' passing attack and blocking as well, but I'm curious where you guys are still at on Zach Ertz. After getting Leonard, do you still want number 86? Do you rather just roll with Zach Ertz and Jack Stoll and Grant Calcaterra? Let me know what you guys think down below right now. We got plenty more stuff happening over the next couple of days and weeks. Make sure you just go ahead and subscribe. And of course, the Zach Ertz news has either happened by the time you've watched this or hasn't happened yet. The notification bell is your best friend, because we're always the first channel to go live to cover all the latest breaking Eagles news. And if you don't want to miss it, the notification bell gives you an alert directly to your phone telling you exactly when we go live. We'll keep an eye out for that and a whole bunch more Eagles stuff, including tomorrow's show and live show on Wednesday night. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.